Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to another amazing episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everyone.
So we have another, of course, amazing show for you all tonight. We're giving away one book. It's actually an advanced reading copy of Kwan's upcoming book. And Kwan's going to be at the 2024 National Black Book Festival as one of the featured authors. So his book is called False Idols. We'll give it away after the first interview. And also for those of you all who want to sign up as a participating author or publisher or small business at the National Black Book Festival, which will be in October, we are at 91% sold. So I would suggest you not procrastinate. So anyway, our first guest, we have co-authors, one of whom has been on the show before, and the other one who hasn't, but they both have the same first name. And we want to find out, one, how did this happen? So anyway, we have Suzette Harrison and Suzette Riddick that are co-authoring a book that's just recently been published. I think it's today. I have to look at the release date. It was last Tuesday. So they are on the show. The name of the book is Forever Beautiful. And so we'll welcome the two Suzettes. Welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And welcome back, Suzette Harrison. She's been on the show multiple times for her other previous books that she's had. And I see the book cover behind you. Okay, so I'll call Suzette R and Suzette H. Is that
That works.
okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so welcome to the show and congratulations on releasing your book. And now, how did you all meet?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us. We are delighted, and it's always an honor to sit down and talk with you and share with you. We call each other twins. So we are the twins, although our mothers are not the same.
Okay.
But Twin and I met through literature, through books, many years ago, probably about, Twin, 8 years ago almost now?
Yeah, 8 years.
Yeah, about 8 years ago, and it was books that brought us together, and so it was, it's been a delight ever since. Twin reached out, she was bold enough to reach out, and I so appreciate that. And we just developed a sisterhood and a friendship from there. And I say sisterhood because it's more than just friendship. We are twins. We share a brain sometimes, and yeah. So that's books brought us together.
Okay. Yeah, so meeting a namesake is interesting, especially Suzette's not a super common name. Now, and when I've only met one Guinevere, that's my first name. I go by Guinevere. I've met one in my life, and she actually lives here in Houston. She's not in the book industry, and she spells her name the same as mine, which is with GWN. So if I need
I've never met a Rhonda, because Rhonda is a very, very original name. Nobody else had that name.
Well, as a matter of fact, we have another Rhonda coming on the show later. So
oh, there are so many Rhondas.
There are lots, but no other Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
That's right. Only one Dr. Rhonda.
Yes. So were you both writing at the time you met, or were you both published authors at the time you met?
Yes, we were. We were both published authors.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, so what gave you the bright idea to co-author a book? How did that come about?
Yeah, well, Twin and I had we discussed it for years. We actually were with a group of other sister authors, and we had plans to write this wonderful series, and it didn't come about. That was maybe 5 years ago, just because of life, people's lives. It was before COVID, and COVID definitely just kind of threw that out of the water. But Twin and I have been talking about this. Twin and I, we talk at least once a month. We would have monthly chats. We'd call each other. We're on the phone 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours, talking about books and everything else in life. So we just, would bounce it back and forth, back and forth. And then finally it was last year, we're like, you know what, we need to stop talking. Let's go ahead and do this and let's see what it'll look like. And so we started putting, doing brainstorming. And that's how we got off the fence. It's like,
Okay.
let's do this, because if not, we'll be on this fence forever.
Right.
Okay. So how did you decide what type of book you were going to write? That had to be a process of what was it going to be, the genre or the theme or the main characters or who the audience would be? How did you reach those?
Originally, we were going to write contemporary women's fiction about a group of girlfriends. However, my twin, she is a phenomenal author of historical women's fiction. So, we just were talking one day and she was like, well, twin, what about if I write my character is historical fiction and my strong suit is contemporary.
Okay.
So we decided to write a 10 novella series with her 5 books are going to be, from the African American historical women's fiction perspective, and mine is from the contemporary women's fiction perspective.
So really you didn't actually write the stories together. It's just more of you kind of split the series.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. So yeah, that's a different take on it because we've had all different types of concepts with co-writers, co-authors of fiction. I don't know if you all are familiar with this is one of the creative ones, the Bays of Juneteenth series. Yeah. Are you familiar with that one? Where they had a bunch of different people and they all took Juneteenth as a theme. Mm-hmm. And that was, but we've had all different types. In fact, we have some co-authors coming up in a couple of weeks with a book that they wrote. They've both been on the show individually. And you all probably know them or know of them, Pamela Samuel-Young and Dwayne Alexander Smith.
Yes.
They're both based in California, where you are, Suzette H. Suzette H. And they have a collaboration that's being released. I think it's in about a month, but they're going to be on the show to talk about their book. So it's good to see people collaborating and working together and coming up with creative ideas.
Agreed. You've probably heard this so much that writing is an isolated art, isolated art form, and you're in your room wherever you write, and you're, just you and your computer essentially, and whatever music that you might be playing, but it's very isolated and it can be lonely. So it is a blessing to have a collaborative partner. We keep each other honest, keep each other on track, work each other's accountability. So that really helps with the progress of the writing and of the series.
Yes. I absolutely agree with that. Sometimes it's just knowing that the person is there. I had a good friend when I was living in Georgia. We both wanted to get our books finished. And we were writing about 2 totally different things, but because we met up at Starbucks or anywhere where you'd like, I'm not saying it has to be Starbucks, but because we met at Starbucks, we had coffee, we sat at the same table, just having that company and knowing that we were there for each other to work on our projects helped us to get through it. Yes. And I had another friend who I don't think I would have ever finished my doctorate had he not called me and said, let's work together and be accountable to each other so we can both get through our dissertations. And it's because of him I was able to get through my dissertation. So sometimes just having that person who calls you and checks on you, who's there to bounce ideas off of, sometimes that's all you really need.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's harassment. You know, when I was working on my sequel, Exodus from Treachery, and I kept saying it was going to come out, I was going to do it, I was going to finish, I was going to work on it. I had people really harassing me saying, you need to finish so I can read and find out what happened to Lloyd. So, but you know, that kind of encouragement is good, especially if it's positive.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Or I guess it could be negative too. That could work. I don't know.
But in your case, it was positive. So we're just gonna go with that.
Okay, so let's talk about Forever Beautiful. Now, Forever Beautiful is the first book.
Yes.
And one of you all wrote the first book.
That would be Suzette H.
Okay, all right.
Twin
And
H.
so then the next book is going to be called Wandering Beauty.
Yes.
And then Suzette R wrote that. So are all the titles going to have some aspect of beauty in the title? Is that going to be like your running theme, or you all are sworn to secrecy right now?
Yeah, because they had that knowing smile when you.
They did have a look like, okay, we're not going to tell. So, how are you going to answer that?
Twin, you got it.
Okay. But it really depends on the two books that are going to be released. So beauty is in both of the first two titles. Our next two books, Twin, can I tell the titles?
Sure. We're self-published. We could, yes. We don't have to ask a publisher's permission.
So the theme word in our next two books that are coming out in the series is watercolor. So, and that's all I'm going to say. Okay. So what probably will happen is that as we release the two books, the one from the historical perspective and contemporary, there will be a play on the title. There will be a theme with the titles of the books.
Okay.
So Twin's playing it down. It was her brilliance, and I'm going to give her credit, because Twin came up with the idea that whatever our heroine's profession, interest, passion, pursuit is, that part of that gets reflected in the title. So for example, with books 1 and 2, both of our heroines are in the beauty industry. That's why, therefore, that's why the name Beauty is part of the title.
Okay, so they both get released at the same time.
Same day, yes.
The same day. And the characters, are they connected, or are they just two separate stories?
So they're two separate stories, and thank you for asking that question, because we're getting the kind of feedback, like sometimes readers are a little maybe perplexed or don't understand that they are two separate stories, two separate genres, two separate eras. However, the heroines are connected. So all of my books, as Twin said, are historical fiction that takes place in 1949 and 1950. All of Twin's books are contemporary, meaning today.
Right.
Two separate genres, everybody, all the readers that are watching and listening, completely separate genres. However, the connectivity is between the characters. So for example, in book 1, I tell the story of a young lady named Floretta. In 1949, she's 19. However, when in Twin's book, Wandering Beauty, we're going to see Floretta as an aged elder. She is connected to Twins. Let's go on. This gives us spoilers. Twins character, Jillian Hart, and Jillian is Floretta's granddaughter. So that's how they're connected in books 1 and 2.
Okay, so people really need to read them in order.
Preferably, if you're anal like me, and you want chronological, story, then yes, but it really is up to the reader and their delight. Some people want to read the contemporary first and then go back and find out how the historical influenced that. But so it's up to the reader.
Okay. Well, that's intriguing. I don't think I've ever heard of that. Have you, Rhonda?
I don't think I have either. But like you said, it does sound intriguing. And I like how I'm the same as you. I have to read them in order, because if I don't read it in order, I'm gonna want to go back and figure out how all these characters fit together.
Right.
I like how you're progressing the characters. And did I hear you say that the characters, I mean, they're different stories, but they're still connected in some way?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So yeah, that I would have to read those in order.
So imagine book 1 is your grandmother and book 2 is your story.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So how is that sounds like it might be somewhat complicated to keep together as you're writing.
Yeah, and that's what I was wondering, because I'm thinking about the planning that went into this specific storyline, because this isn't something you can just sit down and just type on a computer and say I'm done.
Absolutely not. So Twin and I, we, like she said earlier, we meet twice a month. And before we even started the project, what we did, we sat down, we just, kind of brainstormed different ideas, what we would want our characters to look like, how we thought that they would interconnect. So it's like an ongoing, process. It's, it's not like we just say, oh, well, you're going to write this, I'm gonna write that. As we're writing, like we're talking, we're developing plot lines, characters. Even we'll text throughout the day, and I'll say to her, because with my story, like it has to be, consistent with what happened in 1949. It has to be seamless. So, we're texting each other back and forth, we're talking on the phone. We have Twin is the organizer. she keeps everything straight and organized. We have on Canva, like I'm going to call it like our series Bible, and it has everything in it, from the churches in the town, the name of the lake, the grocer, everything is in there, like the town gossip. So it's a Bible that has just like everything in it that we can use for reference. We take notes. We even document like words per day that we write, so that we even stay track on that. So it's a lot of communicating back and forth, just to make sure that consistency is there. So like if you read something in Twin's book, like let's just say if it was a family Bible, and in her book, if the family Bible is Black, in my book it can't be read. So yeah, it's a lot of it's it's time consuming, but we have fun doing it. It's always like Twin said, just a pleasure being able to do a project with someone to be able to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah. Nice. There was a question that came up in the chat. LaRhonda Crosby Johnson says, how often will the books be released? Or are they all written, or are you working in the series as you go along?
Yeah, so the books will be released approximately every 4 to 5 months. So the next anticipated release will be October, and then February for Juneteenth, and then June for Juneteenth, and then the final book will be August of 2025.
You mean February for Black History Month?
Correct. What did I say? Juneteenth, excuse me. Thank you.
Juneteenth is imminent.
I
just want to make sure Juneteenth is coming up. When is next?
No, for 2025.
Because my birthday is Thursday. My birthday is the day after Juneteenth. And Rhonda's is a week after mine, more or less.
Yeah.
All the June babies in here. Happy birthday, June babies.
Yes, happy birthday, Geminis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Last
see
year,
right there?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, Rhonda's a Cancer.
Cancer, okay.
You know, normally I don't get
I'm the
along.
emotional one.
She is. Normally I don't get along with Cancer women, but I get along with Rhonda. Maybe her birthday's in June. It could be the July.
I'm a water sign too, Rhonda. I'm a Pisces,
Okay.
so I'm there with you.
No,
I'm
I
a
get
water
along
sign.
really well
My
with
mom's a
Pisces.
Pisces.
Pisces are calm
Mhm.
from my interaction, but they may just be that way around me. I don't like live by this stuff, but I do
No,
know
neither do I.
I notice patterns. You know,
Yes.
and that's it. It's just like something interesting and fun to do. And last year, my birthday the show was on my birthday,
Oh,
so
nice.
I had a little crown on the whole time. Not on my
I didn't
birthday.
have to do that because I still have my little birthday crown. See, but see, my birthday is on a Saturday, so I'm just gonna have to wear it late. So
There you go.
Okay.
just expect to see my crown in July.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if you can wear one this year, and I won't. How's that? And maybe we'll alternate. Like,
No, you
even though
wear
it's
yours
not
and
on
I
your
wear mine.
birthday. Oh, both of us wear, but
Yes.
it'll be too late. This will be too late. Well,
No,
we'll have,
that's okay. We still have to have a birthday show. In fact,
okay, all right,
I think this is the Monday between our birthdays.
okay. So that will be the Tuesday. Okay, well we,
Yeah,
we
a
can.
Tuesday between our birthdays. So we'll do it
Okay,
that
we'll do that.
way.
We're discussing future business on the show, but that's what happens sometimes. We'll talk about things. And Rhonda, the other Rhonda McKnight that'll be on the show in the next segment, she said that she would like to read the contemporary first and then go back. So
Yeah,
it just depends on the person.
right.
You know, I favor historical, so that's most likely where I would start anyway, because that's my favorite genre. But I like a well-written contemporary story. And when I write fiction, it's contemporary. I write about the now. I don't, because people who write historical, God bless you, because that takes a lot of work and research.
I know. I have a contemporary story in my heart. I mean, excuse me, not contemporary. I have a historical fiction in my heart that I want to write, but it is so intimidating to get started because I want to make sure that I do it right. And I know it's going to take a lot of research and I don't have the time to research the way I want. So it's intimidating, but I'm gonna get it out there one day.
Yes.
Yeah, because when they tell us, I mean, many of them come on the show, they just tell us how much, you know, they go through actually go to old newspaper publishers and go like through the basement files. You know, they might get newspaper mites. You know, they have those bugs that are on old paper. They have to go to the Library of Congress. They have to do so much stuff because it has to be right. You know, it has to be historically right. And so unless you're writing something that's really like fantasy, and then like everyth's made up, and that's a whole different skill set. I'll say that. So different type of thing. So what do you all hope to gain from doing this together? Are you breaking new ground? Is that what you want to do? Or just tell some good stories?
We ain't got it.
I think she was tossing it to you.
Okay. Okay, toss it to me. Okay. Well, what we're hoping to do, I think first and foremost is to create stories that we hope our readers can relate to, that we hope are enjoyable to our readers. And also we hope that there is a message in our stories, because even though as a romance author, when I do write, even though this is women's fiction, but previously I wrote romance, my goal is always to have a message in my stories that people can relate to, or something that would give somebody hope and encouragement. So that's what we're looking to do.
Okay.
Do you want to add anything, Twin?
Oh, yeah. Do you want to add anything?
Do you want to add anything, Twin?
Well, yes. Well, thank you. I don't have to, but one of the things that we state on our website page where Generations is housed, Generations being the series, is that it's a celebration of womenhood, of Black sisterhood, but specifically the courage, the strength, the tenacity and endurance of Black women. So we are definitely celebrating intentionally us and our foremothers, our forebears, and generations. These stories take place in a fictitious town that we created by the name of Colemanville, and it was named for one of the gentlemen that helped found this town. But this gentleman, Prophet Coleman, his mother was an enslaved woman, and his mother's name is Legacy. So when you look at the book, the slogan says for love, liberty, and legacy. Excuse me, his mother's name was Liberty. It's for love, liberty, and legacy. Liberty is not a concept in this story. Liberty is a person who gave her life to save not only her son, but 3 other young enslaved boys. And she lost her life in the process. They come back in adulthood and they find that same plantation where she lost her life burned to the ground. And they use their money and pool their money together to purchase that acreage. And from there, they build Colemanville. So Colemanville is built on the blood and the back of liberty. So it's a celebration of Black women and the things that we have endured and gone through. Through historically, contemporary, it's a tribute to us.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I will be remiss if we did not get into the covers for the books, because I know there's a cover behind you right now, but I saw a couple of the other covers and they're absolutely beautiful, and they're very befitting of the beautiful story and the message behind the stories.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you
So,
on Canva. I've noticed. I've never. Well, I went on Canva once to try to do something, and I'm not creative like that, so I gave it up. I all my graphics is done by a professional person that does graphics for a living, because that's not. Words are my strength in organization. I try to stay with my strengths, and plus I don't want my stuff to look like I did it. Like when people do like graphics on Canva, some of them are. It's really neat. I think Rhonda, I think you do some of your own stuff, and it comes out really nice.
Yeah, but I had to practice for a long time. The first time I was doing stuff on Canva, I was like, "Oh, this is terrible." So I follow a lot of people who are Canva pros, and I try to pick up tips and tricks from them. But
Okay.
I actually kind of like doing my own graphics because it's kind of fun. So when I can't sleep at night, I'm just playing on Canva, creating something.
Oh, okay. Well, I applaud people who are willing to try something new. But I think if you're able to do that creative graphic stuff on Canva, you already have some skills in that direction. That's what I think. Or, that's not my strength. I know what looks good though.
Right.
But are these covers, were they created on Canva?
I don't know, but she said they did something else on Canva to organize all their work. So that's
Okay.
that's
But
why I
these
brought up
covers don't look
Canva.
Canva work.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but you all were talking about something you did on Canva where you were able to use it to almost like as a Bible to organize your work. So that's another aspect of Canva I hadn't heard about. Of course, I only heard about the graphic stuff on Canva. I think you can do your own video stuff on there too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's what I know about the picture at the graphic aspect of it. But I didn't know about the organization aspect of it from writing a book, because people have talked about different tools that they use for writing. The timeline thing that somebody mentioned, who is that? Denny Bryce talked about. She uses this thing where the timeline, she's able to keep a time because she does historical as well. And she's able to keep the timeline that way. So now this 1949 and 1950 is the time period we're doing. is that the time period? Oh, we're almost out of time. We're actually out of time, but I want to find out, is that the time period and all of the books were the historical?
Correct. You're going to get a full year in the historical book. So we're going to start in June of 1949 and go through August of 1950 for the historical.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Nice.
Well,
Nice.
I look forward to getting my own copies and reading them. Suzette, I've read many of your books, and Suzette H. and Suzette R. I look forward to being introduced to your work because I've never read any of your work. So
Okay.
I look forward to both of them. And let people know how they can get the books.
Absolutely. They're both on Amazon. So you click on one, it'll show the series for both books.
Okay.
Also both on our websites. My website is SDH Books. That's S as in Suzette, D as in day, H as in happy, books with the S at the end.com. And Twins website is SuzetteRiddick.com. And that's Riddick, RIDDICK.com.
And I put both
Barnes and-
websites in the chat.
Thank you. Barnes and Noble, as we say, wherever fine books are sold.
Okay. Okay. Well, congratulations again. I'm glad we were able to talk to you early in the release. It's been out a week, so we hope we can add to your sales and keep it moving.
We appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
You're
You have a
welcome.
wonderful evening and best wishes. I'll be reading the books as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Okay. Good night.
Have a
Good
good night. Bye.
Okay, so I did mention that we would be giving away a book. So we're going to be doing that after the next interview, but I'm going to let you all know which book it is. And it's Kwan's, and this is the advanced reading copy. It's by Kwan. It's called False Idols. So for those of you who compete with the winning of the book, you all can go ahead and look up the book. I'm not going to give the trivia till after this interview coming up, but you'll at least already have it. So you'll be in there so you can easily find whatever question I'm going to ask, the answer to the question. So our next guest is no stranger to Black Authors Matter TV. I think she's been on either once or twice before. And she has a brand new book, and today is release day for Rhonda McKnight's book. And it's called Bitter and Sweet. And she's going to be on that's not her there. That's her still picture. Okay. All right. Rhonda, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hi, thank you for having me again.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming back.
Yeah,
Oh,
congratulations.
it's family.
Book. Yeah, it is family. And I've been seeing on Facebook that people are reading your book. I think somebody asked, what's a new release that you plan on getting or something like that, one of those question ones. And several people had your book on there today.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. I've been trying to monitor this here social media, but back in the day, all we had to do was check Facebook. Now you got to be on Instagram, you got TikTok. So the only one that's not getting any love from me today is Twitter. I just can't. I'll pop over there before I go to bed, but I'm most active on Facebook and Instagram, and my publisher. I'm in the middle of a 60 influencer tour, 60 people, and so they are commenting and sharing content, and I'm trying to engage with them. So it's just been a super busy, really week on Instagram for me. So it's been really good. Really good.
Well, tell us
Nice.
about that. You said it's a 60 influencer.
Yeah, I was about to ask the same thing. The 60 influencer tour. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So what it is last year, when my book, The Thing About Home, that's Bitter and Sweet. That's my new baby.
Yeah. And
so
you were on to talk about The Thing About Home.
Came out. And so last year I was actually looking for, my publisher had hired a tour company that they typically use. And most of the people who promote on that particular tour company you know, with black melanin. Let's just put it that way. Okay. So I felt very strongly. I appreciate everything that my publisher is doing for me. They have a wonderful ecosystem they send these books out to. The funnel, they sell. Okay. HarperCollins is huge. But this particular imprint, publishing Black fiction is new for them. And so they were kind of trying to use the same business model they had been using for all their other books. And I was like, this shall not do. So I reached out to an influencer. Actually, her name is Casey Kelly. She was actually the influencer who is a part of the collective curates who actually chose my book for the Essence Festival. I reached out to her and I said, you know, I need like a Black social media company. Like who do you know? You know somebody. And so she suggested this company called Hear Our Voices. And so I contacted them. I, told my publisher, like, hey, can we do something else too with this company? Because I'm Black. Okay, I need a Black tour company too. We can't just do what y'all been doing. Okay? We got to get figure to help them. Okay, and let me tell you the thing about helping them. They're wonderful. They're so receptive to like whatever we need. Like, well, okay, what you want to do? Just let us know what it is. Just we need the ideas. And so, so they hired Hear Our Voices, and I think it was a 30-person tour last year. And when I tell you these women showed off with that book, I mean, they did any and everything in terms of the graphics. And there was a woman who made a video recreating my book cover with the same color shirt and shorts and a bicycle and the whole thing. They made all kinds of videos and all kinds of graphics. It was just beautiful. Like it was a beautiful experience for me to see people interact with the book in that way. And then, of course, pretty much all of them. There were probably maybe 2 or 3 that didn't actually write a review because the company they were using, they would have, I think, 40 influencers with that other company, and very few of them would write a review. So getting reviews from them was awesome, because that's not a thing that's required. If they read the book and they like it, well, like I said, I probably had like maybe 3 out of the 30 that didn't write a review. And so, of course, when it came time to sit down and work on my marketing plan, I was like, surely we're going to use Our Voices again. And I was like, oh yeah, we already booked in for 60. They got a new package with more. And so I was really thrilled with that. And they are, again, doing what they do, which is operating in excellence and really getting the book a lot of exposure in some really creative and beautiful ways.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it is awesome.
I'm really glad that you shared that because I know I personally did not know about Hear Our Voices, but there are so many people who are out there trying to get exposure for their books and they don't always know where to turn. Yeah. So that you were so open about sharing that is huge. So I hope everybody who is an author who's watching this takes heed to that.
Yeah, and it's Hear Our Voices tour, and I will tell you that, they are pricey, but I think that what I know for sure and what they had on their website, I'm not sure if it's there still, is that if you're an indie author, contact them about pricing. Like, we want to work with you. We're not going to charge you what we charge publishing houses. I mean, it was clearly on the website. And so, and I have a friend who contracted them. She has a tour that starts next week. She's an indie author. She doesn't have a huge budget. And she was like, Rhonda, they really worked with me. And so she's really excited about, her upcoming tour. And so they're good people. They're good people. Because, some people it's just like, once they get in bed with publishers, that's it. And they enjoy that money from them and start to trend away from, working with us. Because, I've been indie for a long time, self-published for a long time. I'm only 2 out of my 27 books. Out of my 27 books, only 20, maybe 6 of them are traditionally published. Everything else was new self-publishing. So I understand all the dynamics of that, and especially with respect to finances and exposure. And so they're good people. Yeah.
It's interesting that you said something about how they were doing all this stuff in the industry, but that it wasn't any of us involved, or very few of us involved. I know recently in the last few months, and I won't say which publisher it is, but it's one of the big, whatever that number is, big 8 or 5 or 6 or whatever in New York.
It's like
I mean,
4.5
5
at this
now.
point.
They contacted me about promoting some kind of book thing they had online for romance authors. They were promoting this event, and they wanted us to put it on our platforms that this romance event was taking place with romance authors. So I look at the list of authors. It's not a Black person in there. And I told them, I said, you know, this is 2024. It is too late in the game for you all to miss something like this. You want us to help you promote your event, and it's not one Black romance author that you could reach out to.
Right.
Yeah, it's really concerning.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
really
And then
concerning.
they apologize, and then, you know, but an apology, the first thing you did was the first thing you wanted to do, you know? And so you should know, and I could give them some names, but then they gave me a name that I had never heard of. And I'm like, okay, all right. Anyway, I didn't even deal with it after that.
Yeah. It's like you said, what you wanted to do was what you did.
What you
And
did,
so now you want to cycle back, and it's like your intentions are known. And so it's like you said, it's 2024.
right.
We're not here for the afterthought diversity initiatives. We're
Right.
not here for that anymore. That's over.
No, and I'm not going to use the platforms that we built and invested in to help you. And of
That
course,
part.
they weren't talking. Now, if you were paying me, that would be different. But you were wanting me to do this without being paid to do it. So why would I do it? For what? So I can say we're associated with this big publisher. No, I don't need to be associated with them. You know, if they don't respect us, and I mean us, I mean collective us, and our work, which obviously they don't, then why would I want to be affiliated with them? You know, so anyway, that's a segue and a side. We're going to get back to
A segue into talking about blackness, because you know my books, we black.
Right,
So black.
Well, tell us about the stories.
All right, so I'll tell y'all about Bitter and Sweet. Bitter and Sweet is a dual timeline, women's fiction, historical fiction, family drama, multi-generational. It just falls into a whole lot of categories. And so it's a story that's set in the state of South Carolina, where I live. And the majority of it takes place in the South Carolina Low Country, in the counties of Georgetown and Charleston. The contemporary story is about two estranged sisters who are contacted by their grandmother by text, sort of a cryptic text telling them to come home from the South Carolina upstate where they're living to the Low Country. And so their grandfather's been ill, and they think that they're coming because perhaps things are worse. But when they arrive, their grandmother makes a request to them that, you know, they can't deny. And she tells them, I need y'all to go and reopen the restaurant. This restaurant, Tabby's, has been in their family for 87 years. It's only been closed since the grandfather's illness. And so obviously this is a part of their family's legacy. And so, but the problem there with this request is that these two sisters do not have a relationship at all. They, and it's not because they didn't grow up in the same house together, they did, but there are some issues and some things that go all the way back very deep in their childhood that have affected their actual relationship. So now as adults, they struggle very much, and the grandmother, is aware of that. And so the historical story is, so what I'm saying is there's a lot going on in that kitchen that don't have anything to do with it. Okay. So and grandma can make this request because they're both at a crossroad in their life. They're both in a place where they're stagnant and sort of stuck and need change or need to be pushed or need to be moved. in a different direction. And so the timing of the grandfather's illness and grandma's request is perfect. The historical story begins, which I love. I'm a historical fiction girly. Absolutely love doing this Google timeline thing that I just literally fell into, not on purpose. Because I was very much intimidated, Rhonda, with trying to write historical as well. Like, that wasn't what I do. I read historical books. I love them. And so when a historical character first started talking to me and the thing about home, I was like, oh no, we're not doing that. That's not what we do. And so I left it alone. And then the next chapter popped up and I said, oh, this keeps happening. So the historical story begins during the year of 1915 and runs from the years 1915 to 1938. Takes place during, across those years of the Great Depression, the Boll Weevil in South Carolina eating up all the cotton. There are lots of historical events that take place during that time. And so who we meet there is these girls' great-great-grandmother, Tabitha Cooper, Bitter for short, as she is navigating her life as a single mother in Charleston, trying to build a restaurant business. And so that's the crux of the story. So, but what ties the two stories together, aside from potentially a restaurant, I'm not going to say for sure, you have to read the book to see, is the grandmother during her time was writing letters. And so the family has this box of letters that Tabitha wrote. And so what begins to happen in the story is what I love about, and I may be getting ahead, is that we begin to see that things, sometimes if things are not dealt with in families, the past will repeat itself through the generations. And so, so that's a little bit about, a lot probably about Bitter Sweet.
Okay. Now you write a lot about the Low Country.
I do.
Is that where you are? I know you
South
live
Carolina.
there now, in South Carolina, but are you from South Carolina? Is that
I'm actually always a Jersey girl. So that's where I grew up, but my family is from South Carolina. So I moved to South Carolina by accident right before the pandemic. I lived in Atlanta for 20 years. And my oldest son got married, and my mother was having some health issues, and I decided, I'm a writer, I'll work from a laptop. So I moved to South Carolina, figured I'd do an extended visit where I would sort of figure out what was going on with her and help her with whatever she needed. And then COVID hit. And then I just wasn't going to leave my elderly parents, because my daddy was, running in and out of stores like there was no mask, there was no virus. He needed supervision. So I stayed, and then I have since stayed. So this is where my ancestral roots are. My grandfathers were both farmers. Not to bring up the thing about home again, but my inspiration for that book was Black River, which is near our ancestral farmland. And so I've just sort of fallen in love with South Carolina has so much history. It's so rich.
Yeah.
So much of it is hidden and not talked about. And so there are things that I've shared in the thing about home that, some teachers and the educators in this state did not know. And so we know that we live in a time where, certain people have an agenda to sort of, depress our history, put it back in the box. Let's not talk about it. Let's pretend it doesn't exist. And so I am loving this exploration into this different area. Because, I was writing romance. And right before I came up with the idea for the thing about home, I was actually, at that time, writing some millionaire romance, which was not even something I had ever thought I would ever write because I didn't read it. I wrote one Christmas story about a man with a bunch of money, and it was during the pandemic, and my readers were like, he got a brother, you gonna write about him? And I was like, y'all want that? They were like, yeah, about that. Then, okay, now I'm cousin, this and that. I'm like, okay, y'all is not playing about ordering me to your books. Like, this here writing thing is working with you guys ordering these books. And so I wrote 10 books in that series. But I felt like as I was writing them, But I felt like I wanted to do something, and I love those stories. Don't get me wrong. Like I know I have a friend right now who's binging the entire series. Every day she texts me, she's on book 6. You know, she's running up through them. People love those stories, but I wanted to write books that I wanted to write something that would I felt like would be more of a legacy for me as a writer. And that was something that I explored, you know, from a just sort of a emotional and psychological level during the pandemic as I began to sort of think about my life. You know, I think we had downtime. I know I'm not the only one that was trying to figure out, but who am I? You know, since it's quiet. And so, and I can go out and spend no money. Who am I? And I started thinking about what I wanted to do as a writer. And so I wanted to begin to write women's fiction. And so, which was a lot I never thought I would write, and here I am.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot
I
of
love,
times what
I
we
love
start
that you have a
writing,
purpose behind everything that you do. You're not just doing something for popularity's sake. You're doing things with a purpose. And I think that's something that every writer should have, or as Lionel Richie would say it, purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, listening to Suzette, the twins prior to my talk, I loved their passion. I have read some of Harrison's work. I haven't read Riddick's work. Of course, we'll be reading Riddick's work because their talk was just fantastic, and that's what I love about you guys' show, because I'm always finding out with authors. But I love their passion behind it. And when you have, and I know those books are going to be good because when you have that, like, this is what I really want to do, this is important, this is like the work just like the writing spills out of you because when you have purpose and your intent and your heart is in the right place, I just feel like it can't go wrong, like it never has for me. And so I'm really, really passionate about giving Black women stories that are healing and loving and, you know, have forgiveness and faith and all the elements of our culture that is so important, you know, family. You know, I know a lot of people, I'm 58 at this point, a lot of people who have lived long enough to be dealing with grief and loss. This is a book that deals with grief and loss. There's therapy on the pages, like literally therapy sessions that one of the characters having right on the pages. And so, because we're there. It's no longer taboo to say, I'm going to take care of my mental health. And where it is, you know, that's some dark ages stuff. We are taking care of ourselves. And so I love writing stories that you know, particularly in the contemporary story, that addresses the needs and issues that women, Black women in particular, care about.
yeah, you know, when you first start writing, you don't necessarily know where it's going. Not a particular project, just writing in general. When you start releasing books, you don't always know where you're going to end up, or which direction you're going to go in necessarily, because sometimes readers and circumstances can change what you decide to write about at any given time.
Yeah.
Especially when you're indie, you have more, you can be more flexible to write more about what you want to write about.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about being independent is I write what I want to write about.
It's beautiful. I'm not gonna not be honest. I miss it a lot, you know. Because I could write what I wanted, like anytime, like release it here, whatever, you know. This relationship coming back into traditional publishing is there are a lot of advantages to it. I'm not going to deny there are a lot of advantages to it. Like last weekend, I got an opportunity to spend time at a retreat with Go On Girls. And that was like the book club of your dreams, like, oh child, can I get Go On Girls? You know, and there was an invitation that came and was financed through, you know, like my publisher. I would have never been able to spend $1,000 for 2 nights in a hotel. You know what I'm saying? So so there are a lot of advantages to that. But I do miss being self-published. But I love what you said about when you start writing. I agree. I feel like I've grown up. Like I started writing when I was 30, seriously writing for publication when I was 36, 37 years old. I'm 58 now. And I'm a different writer than I was. I mean, you need to be. If you never evolve or change as as a writer, I think I'm not sure what that's about. But I am. I feel like I've grown up as a writer. I think a lot of the readers who were with me in the beginning, who are still with me, who are still like those core readers that are that will say things like, "You write it, I'll read it," which I love them. They've grown too. And so we've grown into these spaces where we, like I said, are dealing with grief and loss, or because we've experienced that. The older, I tell people, if you've never buried somebody or lost somebody you care about, all you have to do is keep living, that's going to catch you. And
Yeah.
so we're in those stages where we're caregiving or losing parents or losing people that are close to us. And so I love that I'm growing with them, but I also love that, like, these influencers who are part of this tour, most of them are under, I would say most of them are under 40. So I love that feedback from that younger generation who, in a lot of ways, are being mentored in fiction. They're finding that grandmother wisdom that they perhaps, when they were younger, didn't want to, sometimes we don't want to listen to what the ancestors, our elders tell us. And then we grow a little bit and realize, my grandmother used to say that. My auntie used to say that. And she was right. And that done showed up in this book. And I remember. And so, and I have their post about that, from some of them talking about that. And so, like, I don't even not tell you how much I love that. So, yeah, it's been good.
I do agree that a lot of our book influencers, the popular ones, they are younger. And I think that this is something that we've been trying to do, is make reading fun again, because in this age of social media and streaming services, books have so much competition for our attention now, that it's really good to see younger people saying, talking about a book the same way we were talking about a movie or a reality show. There are young people talking about books that way. It's really interesting to see.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, they mean that thing. They have stats, and they're reading the books because the things that they say, the things that are in their review, like, they pick them apart, and they don't let you know when something got dropped, or they felt like you need a little bit more, honey. They don't play with you. They straight no chaser too. They do not play with you. And so, but I love it. I absolutely love being in that space with them, because I think it not only does it, I think it helps me as a writer. I think it, even though I've never been a writer who feels like, oh, I read reviews to learn how to write. No, ma'am, I take lots of writing classes and do a lot of things, and I pay for some great editors to learn how to write. But I do love to know what people loved about a story and what people want more. And so I find that in the reviews and in those spaces with the readers.
Yeah, it is good to hear the feedback from people who read your work. And a lot of times the things that stand out to them are not even things that you thought would.
Absolutely. Like, they telling me about my book. Like,
Yeah.
that never occurred to me. I'm just a lot of that.
Yeah, they tell you things that, well, I never even thought about that.
I love it.
But it's called point of view. Everybody has one. And so when somebody is reading your work, that part of them is, their experience is part of the experience of reading your book. Their background and the experiences, they bring all that to the table when they're reading. And so it's really interesting just to hear and a lot of times it's about characters that you create that they either can't relate to, or they liked them, or they didn't like them, or they, it's just interesting.
Or they don't forgive them, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, they really, or they tell you, I want to know what you're going to do, what's going to happen, and then that makes you write a sequel, another book in the series. Well, we're at the end of our time, Rhonda. So, show the book again, Bitter and Sweet. It just came out today.
Can I say one more thing about it?
Yes.
So it's in paperback, it's in ebook, it's in audio book, it's wherever books are sold. I will put a link for my website so somebody can, if you want to learn more about it, you can certainly go
Your
there.
website is in
But
the
one
chat.
thing I want to say is my publisher contracted 3 narrators for Bitter and Sweet. So, and the audiobook is beautiful. It is beautiful. I mean, Angel King, Janice, I forget her middle name, Pat, and Lynette Freeman, it was like they were competing for who was going to do this the best. They killed it. It's a beautiful audiobook. So if you're a person that loves the audiobook, this is the audiobook. It's wonderful.
Well, that's all I need to hear because I'm an audiobook girl. Gwen isn't. But no, I love a good narrator because a narrator can make or break a story.
Make or break it, but it feels like a movie. I begged my publisher to let me listen to it last week, like I was a child. I can't wait until pub day. And so they sent it to me, and I thought I was listening to it, and it just felt like it was somebody else's book. I felt like I was like totally caught up. Like, wow, this is so beautiful. They did such a beautiful job. And I reached out to the narrators. I'm like, can you send me a picture of you? I want to share I want to share you on my social media. Like, you deserve it. And they were like, oh yeah, they sent you a picture of, copy of the book. And so those sisters they bought their best game. So I just wanted to share that about the audiobook.
Well, thank you. We did put your website. We did put your website in the chat. So everybody go out, go to the website, get this book. Today is pub day. Let's get this book up there and to #1 on the first day. That's the way we do, right?
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks so much, Rhonda. Congratulations again, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Okay, good night.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to bring on our next guest, but as we do that, we are going to do the trivia for Kwan's book, False Idols. And the trivia question to win this book is, in this book, Chancellor King has an older brother. What is his older brother's first name? So whoever gets the answer to that first wins their copy of False Idols by Kwan. And we have our next guest on, and her name is Terah Harris. I think I pronounced it correct. If I didn't, please correct me. And
yes, you did. That's right.
Okay. And welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And I wanted to let you know that I have a copy of her book here. I did not read it yet, but it came in my last batch of books that I ordered. So I plan to dig into it. It's on my to be read shelf, which people who watch the show know is extensive.
Perfect. Thank you.
It spills over, but I keep getting books because I love books. And so I will get to read it at some point. And then you have your previous book showing behind you. So tell us about this book, Long After We're Gone. And when did this come out? What was the release?
May 14th.
Okay, so it's been out about a month, not quite a month.
Well, yeah, just about a month.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, tell us what.
I'm sorry. Okay. So thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Long After We're Gone tells the story of 4 siblings, each grappling with their own individual struggles, who return home after their father dies to save their ancestral home and land from being sold out from underneath them.
Oh, okay. So the long after we're gone is that the siblings, long after the siblings are gone, or is it long after their ancestors are gone?
Long after the end. This good question. Very good question. Long after we're gone, it speaks to the ancestors that came before them. This is an intergenerational trauma story. And when you start this story, you start at the very beginning when the father, King, when he dies. And you kind of get a glimpse at the lives of these siblings before he dies. And it's really important to see what kind of life that they're living before he dies, because immediately you're catapulted into his death and how they have to grapple with his death and saving this ancestral land. But there's a lot of things they don't know about their father. They don't know what happened to their mother. They don't know their father's full story. And so as they start this fight of trying to save their land, they start to discover who he really was, who his mother really was, and that all their issues and problems that they have is tied to the people that came before them, which is why the book is called Long After We're Gone.
Okay. So is this a standalone book?
It is. It's a
Okay.
complete standalone book.
Okay.
Okay, I was just going to ask, it sounds like the story may kind of play with time a little bit, to where you're in present time and then you do a little bit of flashback as well.
Yes. So that it's told through letters, through a series of letters, that I felt like that was the best medium to use versus jumping timelines. And so Toki, the youngest daughter, when they're cleaning out the house, they discover these series of letters that their mother Hazel wrote to their father King. And so they're able to kind of piece together their story, their mother and father story through these letters.
You know, I just, when you were talking about that, and then the previous guest, was it the previous guest or the ones before that talked about letters? Was the first guest. But anyway, it made me think about now, and when people now are trying to piece together the past, letters play an integral role in that. And I was thinking about now and in the future, since people don't write letters anymore, what will the future people use to piece things together? Maybe their social media stuff.
Yeah, that's a very good question. You know, they're able to piece together their mother and father's story through their own words, but we don't have that now. We don't write letters anymore. I mean, and that we write emails maybe through text messages, maybe, but that's not something that you can discover. Like
No.
Toki discovered these letters. You can't discover
Double
somebody's
text.
open cell phone with their
No,
text messages, pulled up. So
no.
yeah,
And plus, that would be
that's
difficult.
lost.
Those are just really short, short communications. Letters really let you delve into the person's mind, their heart, and all of that.
Right.
So that's something to just think about for the future. If people in the future are going to be trying to, let's say 50 years from now, they're trying to piece together now, what will they use? It's just,
That's right.
something
That's
to
right.
think.
Mhm.
So what led you to write this intergenerational story?
Oh, this is okay. So when I was writing my first book, One Summer in Savannah, which is, behind me, I wasn't sure what kind of writer I wanted to be yet. I was writing this story that is with this really hard topic, and a topic that's rarely covered in fiction. It covers conception after a sexual assault. And right in the middle of writing that, I realized that's what I want to do. That's the niche that I wanted to tell, to kind of lean into. I wanted to highlight these unique stories that happen to people every day that either we don't know about or we don't talk enough about. And so I said, I'm going to wait for my next inspiration to come the same way that inspiration came for One Summer in Savannah. And it came in the form of a New Yorker article about these two brothers in North Carolina, Melvin Davis and McCurtis Reels. And their story is now being told in an amazing Amazon Prime documentary called Silver Dollar Road. But years prior to that documentary, there was an article in the New Yorker that was telling their story. And they are two brothers from North Carolina who went to jail for 8 years after they refused to leave the land that their great grandfather had purchased 100 years prior, after it was sold out from underneath them. And I just remember reading that story, and I was so frustrated and angry at not only what happened to them, but that I had never heard of the term heir property before. And so I realized then that I had my next book idea, and I wanted to kind of highlight and share some awareness to this problem, this issue that's happening in the Black community today.
So by heir, you mean H-E-I-R.
H-E-I-R, yes.
Yeah. Because at first I thought it was A-I, like Airbnb, but
Yeah.
then when you kept talking, I said is heir like heirs, because this is about generations of people.
Right.
And it's interesting how
I didn't even think about it like that, because at first I was going to ask you to explain heir, but then when you said that, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's sometimes an article, things that can inspire writing, because Rhonda and I are both writers and authors. So sometimes it can be an article. I know an article influenced me to write my first novel. Or it can be just even a situation, something that you see, you go to Starbucks or wherever, you're sitting there and you're looking at two people who are having a conversation or argument or whatever, and that can be the impetus or the inspiration for writing a story around it. So it just, you can never tell.
Absolutely.
I wrote my book Twilight based on when I went through my training to be a sexual assault victims advocate, and just many of the things that we were learning as we went through that process. I imagined what it would be like to be in that situation, and so I wrote my book Twilight based on the experiences of a sexual assault victims advocate. So you never know where inspiration is going to hit. It's just
Right.
good that when it came to you, that you listened and you heeded it and you created this powerful story.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, the inspiration is everywhere. You just have to be open and receptive to it.
Absolutely.
So when you got your book deal for your first book, did you get it for two books and then this inspiration came to you, or did you already have both books kind of in the can? How did
I
that
did
work?
not. I
Okay.
did not. My book deal was a 2-book deal.
Okay.
And all I gave my editor at the time was that I was thinking about writing this book. I had no idea of the direction that it was going to eventually take. And I sold it just really based on like that line, that it was about these siblings fighting to save their ancestral home and land. And so, and then I just went from there. But no, I did not. I tend to know halfway through the writing of my book of what the next book is. So yeah, it tends to come later.
Okay.
So
So
you
how,
that's the
go
same.
ahead, go ahead,
On
Rhonda,
your
because I,
inspiration, just based on kind of where the story is going. So when you start to write, I know you said you weren't really sure where you were going or what when you just had an idea at first, and this is what you do in your head.
Mm-hmm.
But now when you got ready to write, we learn a lot about different authors' writing styles. Some people are planners and some are pantsers. So in your case, do you feel that you kind of had a plan, so to speak, but you kind of let the story go where it wanted to go once you started writing?
Not at all. I am a plantser. I am both.
okay.
I am a little bit of both.
Planter.
I am a planter. Put the two together. I am a planter. I know the end of my books first, and then I know certain plot points, certain things that I want to happen, but that's it. So once I know the end of the book, I can figure out pretty much how it needs to begin. And it doesn't really matter what the characters do on the way to the end, as long as it still ends the way that I wrote. So, and I like the freedom of being able to change my mind. I am a person who is led by the characters that live in my head. And so they do different things. I don't know if I'd ever be able to sit down and write a book that I've completely outlined. And so, just because they tell me, they whisper things to me. So I'm led by them. And so as long as it ends the way that I had previously written, then that's fine. So yeah, I'm a planner. So I had no idea of the direction this book was going to take until I sat down and started writing it.
That makes sense. That's what happens sometimes. Sometimes you kind of know where you want to go, but then you start writing and it goes in a totally different direction.
Right.
I'm with it.
That's right.
Yeah. So your the book that behind you, was that your first book?
Yes, that was my debut book. My debut
Okay.
novel
One
came
Summer
out
in
July
Savannah.
4th. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
One Summer in Savannah came out July 4th last year.
Okay. All right. And so that was the one you said it was about conception from sexual assault.
One Summer in Savannah tells a story of a woman who returns home after her father falls ill, and she has a very difficult decision to make, whether or not to allow her attacker's family into her daughter's life. And what a lot of people don't know is when she moved away, that she was sexually assaulted, but that she had conceived a child from the sexual assault. And so she has moved away and has lived in this coastal town in Maine until her father grows ill, and she has to return home to kind of face her past and take care of him and help him run his bookstore. And of course, while she's there, she runs into the identical twin brother of the man who sexually assaulted her, who has also recently returned home. And when their two worlds collide, you know, they are brought together in these, and it's just an amazing kind of way.
Well, Rhonda McKnight just said that she purchased One Summer in Savannah on audio.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. It would always be, it's my debut novel, so it'll always be this special one for me. I mean, it was a July Target book club pick, and just having that book in Target like that just opened it up to so many readers. So I am forever grateful, and will always love that book.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of our viewers said this is her, Veronica DeBar. She said this is her favorite place to be and discover new authors, and she gains so much knowledge. And
That's nice.
yeah, that's the feedback that we get from people who watch this show, because we do like to have people on the show, especially when they have a new book out, because the early book sales are very important shortly after the book is released. And then also, these are a lot of the people are people they normally would not know about. I mean,
Right.
there's so many books being released now, and it's hard to break through. You know, it's like breaking through the noise. It's difficult to make your book stand out. And so that's part of what we do. And we'll be celebrating our 4th anniversary on the July 30th show.
Wow,
And
congratulations.
we're very excited about
Time
that.
flies. It really
Time
does.
flies. And we didn't know we were going to be doing this 4 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, we had no
Wow.
idea. And we're probably going to, we've already passed 600 guests. So we're past 650 now, Rhonda. And
Wow.
I'm thinking by the time of the festival, we'll be at 700 in
Wow.
October. 700 guests on the show and 100,000 followers on Facebook.
Very nice. That is awesome. That is amazing. Thank you. And
Yeah.
thank you for what you do. You know, I am a former collection development librarian. And so my job at my library was to purchase all the adult print and digital titles for my library system. And as someone who knows about books and studied when new titles came out, I am here to tell you, you're absolutely right. So many titles come out every Tuesday.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then it could be the greatest book, but you know what? Then guess what? Next Tuesday, another great book comes out, and then another one and another one.
Yeah.
But the thing that I like, and I like to stress, is people discover books when they discover them. You know, there's so much of a big push to read a book, you know, on the Tuesday or the week that it comes out. But one of the things that I'm learning with One Summer in Savannah is it's still finding its readers, even a year later. You know, books are going to find the people that they need to find. And that's one of the great things about what you guys do in the show, is introducing people to writers, newer writers like myself, who have, you know, I've got 2 books out already in 2 years, but that I'm not a big name yet. And you're introducing them to me and to my books and putting on their radar. So I appreciate the work that you guys do.
Well,
We appreciate the work that you're putting into your books, because just based on what you said, people put so much pressure on themselves to hurry and get a lot of books out there, or let me hurry up and get my book out on this specific Tuesday because I need to compete with the people on the New York Times bestseller list. So let me hurry up and do that. And often people don't put the thought and care into their stories that they should, because they're so busy trying to get it out there. And just listening to you, I can tell that you put a lot of thought into your stories. You put a lot of work into it. Not a book is, it looks like a hardback. It's a paperback, ebook, audiobook. And that's amazing. You're doing a lot of things that a lot of authors in their first couple of years have not had the opportunity to do.
Yeah, there's no rush. That's the thing. There's no rush to this. And I talk to a lot of wannabe writers, people that want to write every day, and I tell them, take your time, develop your story. There is no rush. You have time. As you have time, start writing the book, but you have time. There's no rush to get it out there, to get it published. Take the time to polish it, to develop the story, to develop the characters, because that's how people are going to find you. People say, well, how do you become a best-selling author? How do you get published? Write a good book. And people are like, what do you realize? It's so simple.
Is it that simple? Yes.
But write a good book. You know, the cream is going to rise to the top. People are going to discover you. And so do what you can do and control what you can control. There's so much about publishing that we have no control over. But we can control the words that we write. We can control the story that we want to tell. So focus on that instead of everything else.
Right. When you were talking, I was just sitting here thinking, when we started the show, we didn't even think about Tuesday being the release date for books. We picked Tuesday because it wasn't Monday and it wasn't Wednesday. And then once we got into it, we realized this is book release day, which makes it really great. But Monday is not a good day. People are just getting back into it from the weekend. And Wednesday, a lot of people have commitments at church and so forth. Wednesday is one of those nights. So we picked Tuesday, which turned out to be the perfect day of the week. So, yeah. So now you picked topics, and this is what I like about having so many different people writing books, is you pick topics of your two books that are not common topics. The one about One Summer in Savannah, the topic you picked, I haven't heard that plot in another book, that specific plot. There might be one, but I haven't heard about it, and I haven't had anybody talk about it on the show, and I haven't read it because I'm an avid reader as well. So kudos to you. Now, is this something, that particular topic, is that something that you encountered with? What made you decide to write about that? Having a child with someone who sexually assaulted you.
Yeah. One Summer in Savannah is loosely based on a dear friend of mine and her story and what she went through. And so I think that topic is something that was very important for her to be able to tell her story through me, through works. And it's proving to be that topic that people are finding that they can't identify that they've ever read in a book about. And as a collection development librarian, and publishing, when you try to publish a book, the first thing that publishers want to do is they say, what is your book like? Compare, what is a comp to this book, comparable to this book? And I thought, what is the comp to this book? And so I went researching, and I'm a collection development librarian. I mean, I know books off the top of my head, and I could not think of any book that covered sexual conception after sexual assault. And I even reached out to other librarian friends of mine and was like, have you ever, known, have you? And the truth is, it really does not exist. There was only one topic, one book that we could find, fiction. Fiction. I want to clarify that in fiction, because there are nonfiction topic books like that written for nonfiction. But in fiction, no, there was one book that we found. It's about 20 years old. It's Francine Rivers, called The Atonement Child. And that's Christian fiction. And so that book is about 20 years old. Most people had never even heard of it. And so that was it. That's the only one that we could really find. And the whole idea is to highlight these topics such as conception after sexual assault, heir property. It's just to raise awareness to this. I believe that you can educate using fiction.
Yeah.
You can educate using fiction. And it can be entertaining. Learning can be entertaining, but you can also learn as well. I want people to put my book down and feel like they've been entertained, that I told a great story, but they also learned something. They also learned about heir property, and that is happening in the Black community today. And to be able to take that information, and if they hear it, or if they know, or if they have heir property, to be able to take action to do something about it. So I really like this little niche that I seem to have fallen into with my books.
Well, did you have a third book in the works, or you're going to focus on promoting these two for the time being?
I'm currently writing my third book now. It's tentatively called The Flower Farmer, because I love coming up with titles and my publisher loves to change them. So it's tentatively called The Flower Farmer. And it's another one that deals with several topics that I feel like that are somewhat unknown. And so I'm looking forward to finishing that. That book is scheduled to come out the fall of next year.
Okay. Okay. All
So
right. Well,
congratulations on that, for already having the next book in the works. We'll be looking out for it, but I definitely want to read One Summer in Savannah.
Thank you.
and see, I already bought the new one. I already bought the new one. So, and I
Well,
have to go
sexual
back and
assault
get the
is
first
a huge part of my platform. Like I said, my book Twilight is also about sexual assault. So bringing a voice to people who were victimized. I don't like to call them victims. I like to call them survivors, because they survived it. So but giving them that voice and letting them tell that story is very important. So I appreciate that.
Right.
Yeah. So what kind of feedback are you getting about both books, but especially the new one, since that's the one that we want to put more emphasis on for the interview?
Read reviews. I'm one of those writers that don't read reviews. So I have I don't know by and large. I just know based on what people tell me. And so far, it seems that people really love it. It seems to be striking a nerve with a lot of people because, again, this is a topic that people don't know much about. I've had the feedback that I do receive is via my website when people write me or email me via my website. And it's feedback such as, oh my goodness, I didn't know this was happening, or my family has air property, and it's always, unfortunately, it tends to be a sad story about how their family lost land or currently is in the process of losing their land. And so the feedback has been really, really great. It's also an intergenerational family, really messy family drama. So I've had people reach out to me and like, oh, these characters are so annoying. They're, because they've made some horrible decisions. But the great thing about the book is really about the power of family. It really is, and how important that these siblings come back together to save their ancestral land and work together once again. And so that's the feedback that I've been receiving. So this is the book of my heart. And I remember as a writer, I remember hearing other writers say, that's the book of my heart. And I thought, what does that mean? And I asked a writing friend of mine, and she says, if you don't know, then you haven't written the book of your heart yet. And I was about halfway through this Long After We're Gone. And I was like, okay, I get it. I get it. I get what that means. And to write a book of your heart is to completely like lose yourself into it, completely fall into it. And I fell into this book. And so as much as I like the feedback coming, it doesn't matter. No matter what people say, I am extremely proud of this book and I love it.
Yeah, well,
I'm sometimes, I do read reviews, but never let reading a review derail you from your purpose.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right.
Yeah, I read all the reviews, every single review I've ever received.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness. You are a strong woman.
They're almost all good for the fine. I'm an indie published author, and I write a variety of genres. I'm not in one lane. So I rarely get a negative review, and the ones that I've gotten have been stupid. It'll be like my book arrived late. Something like that.
Yeah.
My book, not from me, from Amazon. The
book
arrived late, or it was one in particular that I had a character in one of my novels that was a rabid racist, and he used the N-word. Well, a racist would use the N-word, and this was like 3/4 of the way through into the book, which means the person who wrote the negative review had to have read 3/4 of the way before, and then that one word just upended them,
Oh,
like you
goodness.
never heard it before. So that, to me, that's stupid. But I read all of them because they're all usually good, and even the ones that aren't, they'll tell you why they, and to me, if it's not, it's a 4. I'd rather have a 5. So if they give me a 4 and, and they tell me why it's not a 5, then I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
Terah, we did put your website in the chat. There were a lot of comments since I put it in the chat, so I'm going to put it in the chat one more time in case somebody can't find it. But it is in there. Congratulations on your books. And everybody, let's make sure we get out there and support this book.
Yeah, there's been a lot of feedback. So from the viewers, which is great.
This is very great. Thank you.
So thanks for being a guest on the show. Congratulations on your books and your passion. Passion is the best in terms of writing. It makes it so much easier to write when the passion
does.
Just pours
yes, it does.
Okay, well, have a great evening, and thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, in all the comments, I didn't see if somebody won the book. Did you see it, Rhonda?
Yeah.
Did anybody get the answer? Did somebody get it?
You know who it was.
Curtis.
Yeah.
Okay, well, congratulations, Curtis. You won again. He's quick on the draw. So,
Very.
yeah. So anyway, we have our final guest on tonight. And Doris has been on the show in 3 different capacities. So Doris was on the show. This is her 3rd time on the show. And Doris, the first time Doris was on the show, she was a curator of sorts with HarperCollins. And she used to send me all kinds of arcs. I used to love that. I used to get my box of advanced reading copies that Doris would send me. I miss those because I don't get them anymore. But then when the employees at HarperCollins went on strike, this was like 18 months ago, I want to say, maybe longer. Doris came on to tell us what the strike was about and what happened with that. And now Doris is with an organization. She's not at HarperCollins anymore. She's at an organization called We Need Diverse Books. But Doris is one of the most passionate people about African American books that I know. And if you don't follow her on Instagram, I don't even know if she's on Facebook, but I'm not really like active on Instagram like I probably should be, just because we have so many followers on Facebook. That's where I focus on. But I follow you. So I get to see, and I want to let you know that because of your postings, you posted about Black bookstores in different states. You did that. And several of them I invited to come on the show, and they've been on the show just because of your work. So Doris, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV. And there's an exciting announcement about her organization is going to be one of the sponsors of the Children's Festival at the National Black Book Festival, and helping us make sure that every child who attends will get a free book, at least one free book. So welcome,
awesome.
Doris.
Thank you. It's so good to see you ladies again. Queens, how are you? Thank you for my lovely new t-shirt. Yes, new merch. Okay. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Now we're going to be Rhonda and I are both going to be at the Harlem Book Fair this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're going to have a tent. I'm going to be bringing all the t-shirts. I'm not even going to be bringing books. I'm bringing our line of t-shirts. And Rhonda's
you should.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're selling so many shirts. I said, we had the Black Authors Matter shirt, and I said, you know what? People are wearing message, they're really repping the culture with clothing and t-shirts. I said, all of the people that we've come in contact with, the concepts, we need to have some fresh stuff that we make ourselves and generate. And I have great graphics people, and I have a great screen printer, t-shirt printer, and so we're selling lots of t-shirts. I'm excited.
I'm
So we're
glad
gonna,
to hear that.
yeah, we're gonna be
I
up
will
there.
definitely be pulling up to get me some at the Harlem Book Festival.
Okay, yeah, that's September 7th. Rhonda and I are gonna be there. So we don't
It's
travel
gonna be
together a lot,
busyness
but this
this
will be
year.
our second time traveling together.
Okay.
Mhm. So tell us about We Need Diverse Books and what the organization's mission is, and then what your role is.
So We Need Diverse Books is a nonprofit organization that supports diverse authors. They have scholarships, they have grants, they do workshops and mentorships. It's a way to try to level the playing field in publishing for all diverse authors, no matter what your diversity is. And there are separate um, like departments, if you will. So like if you're an Asian author, then there is a specific, grant or writing project or workshop that you would be able to enter, and you would be surrounded by, others who are, just like you. And it just makes it a little bit easier for people to speak freely and to be passionate about the things that they're passionate about, and to write about cultures and ethnicity in a setting where people will understand it and grasp it and gravitate to it. So I run the Black Creatives Fund, which is clearly being geared towards Black people, and so Black writers. And so we do workshops. Right now we're doing the revisions workshop where 10 writers wrote a picture book, middle grade, teen, or adult book, and they were chosen to work with a author who is established, and that author will help them, along with us having different chat and choose throughout the course until September, and they'll revise their entire manuscript, and then they'll submit it to Penguin Random House, and two of them will have the opportunity to possibly be published by Penguin Random House. So I think I talked about this the last time I was here, because I actually did the program. It was funny because I wrote my book, an adult book about my experience in the publishing industry disguised as a mystery. And I just, was letting loose. It was kind of like the other Black girl, but like on steroids. Like I really went in on the different meetings, the different things that happen that a lot of people have no idea about. And so I think it was a little bit too bold. And so I didn't win. But the woman who used to run it, Brianna, she was leaving. So I was recommended to replace her. And so I've been here almost 2 years, and it's been great. I facilitated several workshops on marketing, sales for adult, middle grade, and picture books. We've done just a lot of different interesting things. Last year, I didn't get to go this year, but last year we had the Walter Awards, and well, they have it every year, but I went last year, and it was really great at the Martin Luther King Library in Washington, D.C. that they renovated. And so it was just so great to see the children coming in with their books to get signed by authors, and just so excited. And actually on Saturday, I went to the Bronx Book Festival, and I tabled there for We Need Diverse Books. And I saw so many of my old colleagues who told me pretty much publishing was still on their bull crap. And and I was able to get a lot of my books signed and meet some other influencers. So it was just really great to be in company with our people. It was lovely. So yeah.
It seems like every
sounds-
time I hear about the percentage of people in the big among the big publishers, is it 5 or 6 or 4?
Yeah, it's 5, the big 5.
Yeah. Well, every time I hear the percentage that's white, it's always 90+%.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's
now
like
it's
it's
even
never
less.
moved. Yeah, it's like, I think the last person that told me, and I think they were on the show and told me, it was 94%. I mean, how can you call yourself representing the nation and you're 94% white? That doesn't
Yep.
just, it doesn't make
And
sense.
Exactly.
unfortunate, it's kind of like the movie industry, it's kind of like the music industry, because the industry is 95% white. They are going to jump on what they think is selling at the time. And
Mhm.
so a certain genre of Black authors may do well because the 95% thinks that's what all we read. So that's
Yep.
going to do well until something else hits. And then that
Mhm.
something else is going to be the next big thing.
Right.
And
They
it's
just jump from one fad to another. I tell you, that made me remember who said it. It was Alyssa Cole when we had her on the
Okay.
show a couple of weeks ago.
Mhm.
She said, and I totally understand it because it's not just in publishing, but she said that as a Black writer, you're not allowed to succeed or fail on your own merits. You're always, what you do is always tied to, well, the people coming behind me, will they be able to get a book deal if my book doesn't do that well? And it shouldn't have anything to do with that. You
Yeah,
know?
no, it's really vicious. Like
Yeah.
I've spoken to an author, thankfully her book did do well, but she told me like they told her if her book doesn't do well, they're going to drop her. You know, there've been, again, since I'm on the inside, I've seen, you know, so many instances where the little few of us that do have the courage to speak up in a room full of others are shut down. You
Get
know, they just don't
blackballed.
listen. They're like, oh no, this is not it. I've been in cover meetings where I'm just like, why are the lips so big? Why is the skin so dark? You know, like this doesn't fit. This is not right. And a lot of times they'll push back. Every here and again they might actually fix it, but for the most part they push back because they do believe that, you know, they know what's best. And it's really disheartening. It's, I think it's down to 4% now. And just a couple of weeks ago, Lisa Lucas, who's a really big deal,
Right.
was unceremoniously let go. Tracy Sherrod was on the cover of the Publishers Weekly, and Tracy, everybody knows, is like, you know, publishing royalty. She's edited so many books from Jennifer Lewis, you know, all the way back to Tupac, you know, Cedric. Like there's so many, even Barracoon, like she has done so many books, and there's so many authors who are just devastated every time one of the big Black editors are let go because there's so few of us. So they encourage you to write your story, and then your story gets edited by somebody who's not familiar with your community, with your culture, with anything, and they may think you have an agenda. You know, there's so many different avenues that it can go when you're not working with people who can actually understand and relate to your work. So it really is hard for Black women, because there's hardly any Black men in publishing, like on that side of it, and just as hard as it is for the author. So like, and I like a lot of times when I'm doing these workshops, I tell them like, you're the author, like you are allowed to speak up because you do have very few of us in the background speaking up. But if you're not saying the same thing, then that gives them even more reason to ignore, you know, what we're saying. And it's really disheartening because after the George Floyd incident, many of us in publishing were forced to sit in town hall meetings and listen to racists tell us about racism and how things were going to get better. And many of us knew that it was not true and that they were just, you know, running, like you said, following a trend. And now that we are not as trendy anymore, then, you know, we're being let go in all of these DEI positions that they made up. And now they're letting us go and showing us, you know, how they feel, which it was from the very beginning. So we didn't even need to go around the pony and horse show. But I guess, you know, that's what it is.
Yeah, that it every few years, normally it's some sort of flashpoint that causes them to move or do something, but it's never sincere. The reason you know
Ever.
it's not sincere is because as soon as it's not like making money like they wanted to, they jettison whoever it is. Just they let them go quickly. And normally when they add them on, it's to a lot of fanfare because they want to make it seem like they're, you know, they've seen the light.
Mm-hmm.
But
Exactly. And that's when you get the celebrity imprints, when the celebrity has no
right.
idea about writing, about books, about publishing.
Right.
about, you know,
Which means
marketing, sales,
it
none of
can't
that.
succeed. It's set up to fail because they
Yeah.
don't even take it seriously in terms
Yeah.
of who they have running it. You know what I mean?
Part of it though is that we get to the point where if this is the mountain and only a few people can be on this mountain, and you see other people trying to climb up the mountain, we start to kick them down because we want to be the man. We want to be the one who's
And publishing, if you see somebody on that mountain, that means that how they got there is, you know, more than likely they're not going to have your same views because they are on that mountain, and
right.
so they don't even have the luxury to, you know, relate to you. They're on the mountain with the rest of them on the mountain.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I this is opposite of my exposure in terms of what reading and watching, but I didn't watch The Other Black Girl. I read The Other Black Girl. I thought it was hype. I thought it was all hype. To me, that's just my personal opinion. Thought it was all hype. And I was like, and I normally, if I get so far in a book and it's just not, I know I'm not gonna like it, I stop reading. But this book was so hyped, I said, I'm gonna finish because when I write a review, it needs to be genuine that I read the whole book. So I didn't look at the series because I didn't like the book. So why would I want to watch it? But American Fiction, I didn't read the book, and it's not called American Fiction. What's the name of it? Is it called American Fiction? The
American
book.
Fiction.
It is it's Percival. Is it Percival?
Oh, I don't know what the name of the book was. I know
No,
the
that's what I mean. The
movie.
book. I think the book is called something else. But I loved American Fiction. I don't know if you've seen it, Doris.
I haven't seen, I don't watch a lot of stuff. You know, my son's on the spectrum.
You need to watch that one because
I'll watch it on my phone.
yeah.
You know, my son's on the spectrum, so I have to watch TV on my phone because all my TVs are on Sesame Street.
Okay, well, yeah, or a tablet. You can watch a tablet if you have.
Okay, I will check it out.
You got a bigger screen because it describes it depicts the things you're talking about in publishing.
I definitely need to.
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah,
publishing.
Like the publishing women were really excited about The Other Black Girl. The Black women, we were like, yes, you know, she's gonna pull the wool, you know, but she didn't go in as, you know, as deep as I thought that she was gonna, and we were hoping that she would. But it's funny because the last person, when you all were talking about inspiration, I was inspired to write my book during the pandemic when everybody was home. And for like the past 15 years, I'd been preparing my team for like the sales conference, and they would go off, but I never really knew what happened there. So when we were on Zoom, I realized that they were having an awards ceremony every single year. And I had worked kids, adults, helping everybody, you know, giving them everything that I could. And yet I had never been awarded for anything. And so that's when I started to write my book about my experience in publishing. So it was funny that you all were talking about inspiration because you literally can be inspired. And
yes,
depending on what that inspiration is, that passion will really come out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And in publishing now, with all the indie publishing that's going on now, the big publishers are trying to tap into that. You know, it's in fits and starts. You know, they're signing some indie people, but the beauty of it is a lot of the indie people now are hybrid. They're still indie. They might have some traditional publishing too, but they're still able to indie publish. So, you know,
and
that's something
BookBub is
different.
really good. We've done some workshops with BookBub, which is really good for indie publishers. And we're actually going to do another workshop that's going to be open because most of our workshops are for published authors. But this time when we do the next one with BookBub, which probably will be in a couple of months, that one is going to be open to self-published authors as well.
So where can people find the information about the different workshops?
On weneeddiversebooks.org, there's a tab there that you do the drop down, and there are so many options. You can find out about the grants, the mentorships, any scholarships, any events coming up. It's all right there on the website. There's a Black Creatives Fund tab. That's where you can see what I've been doing. Right now, like I said, the revisions workshop is there. So you would see the 10 authors who are mentoring, the 10 mentees, you would see them as well, and just the whole, whatever the specifications of the program are in case you were interested in applying next year. And we'll also have a mentorship coming up, and that's just where writers get to pair with, again, published authors and just have a mentorship program to work on their book, but it's not like a competition like the revisions workshop is.
Well, we did put the website in the chat. I believe it's diversebooks.org.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, so it's in the chat. This sounds like a great service for published authors and aspiring authors.
Yeah, and we've had some really great people come to talk to the group. We've had just a lot of Black movers and shakers in the industry, which is really good for aspiring authors, to see. And we have safe space platform. We don't record anything, none of that. And everybody's free to speak freely, passionately. We bounce things off of each other. It's really just a great community because there's so few of us, writers, Black writers. And in order for us to pull together and try to level this playing field, we really need to have that support system where we're constantly in communication with each other and just keeping each other abreast, because other people definitely keep each other abreast, and we don't seem to do that as much, and that's probably why we're usually in last place.
And,
I love the way you said that.
Yeah, I wanted to let you know I appreciate you having me participating in one you did like a year ago, or maybe a little bit more than that, about marketing for indie authors and different ways to market smartly, market their books. And they are grants, and they do pay a stipend. So for people
and they have educator grants. If you're a teacher and you would like to diversify your bookshelf, there's definitely educator grants. I think last year it was 2,000. I'm not sure what the next round is, but they definitely have grants specifically for trying to combat the book bans and everything. Just that the fact that we're being targeted, so I really am pleased with my time here. Like, I've been here for a while. I really love it. And I also write book reviews for Publishers Weekly. So although I don't work at Harper anymore, I'm still very much into publishing, into keeping up with what's happening. I just posted some of actually, your authors tonight are all on the front of my page because I posted the on sales before I came on. So that was great. And also the one who was talking about the property, I actually got this Rooted, The American Legacy of Land Theft and the Modern Movement for Black Land Ownership by Bria Baker. The publisher sent me this earlier this week. So I was just thinking of this book when you all were discussing
about the air property.
Exactly.
Okay. I need to make a note of that so I can invite. It's called Rooted.
Yes. The American Legacy of Land Theft
and what's
the Modern Movement.
Name? What's the author's name again?
Bria, Brea Baker.
Okay. All right. I have to reach out to Bria to see about getting her on the show.
You should.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So now you have behind you have Summer is Here. Now, is that one of the, because I know you did a live where you were unboxing books, and I was watching
this one.
It was your first one, and I said, oh wow, Doris is unboxing. Let me watch her first live. And then in the middle of it, she unboxed the books of mine that I sent her. So that was, I didn't know it was going to be up there. I said, this is great. This is great. So now what's that
I'm
one?
glad you were surprised. This one I got at the book festival. I have a whole, they had so much great stuff. The public library was there. Renee did sign it. And these authors, that's another thing. Like, they be working. They're like artists because they have to keep moving in order to make the ends meet. So she literally was at the book festival. A lot of others were too. And then the next day they were at ALA, which was in Louisiana. So they're in Louisiana. They were in Louisiana for ALA, and Renee was the keynote speaker. So that was great. And of course,
ALA is
Vashti
an
was there.
amazing, ALA
Vashti,
is an amazing event.
I want to go. I still haven't been yet.
I've been, but it's been a long time. Now, is this the ALA, the Black Caucus one, or the big one?
No, it's it's just
the
the
national
regular American.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I haven't been in a long time, but I need to put it on my list of places to go. When
I
they
definitely want to go.
Yeah, when they have those, because what I'm working on is for the next, I'll say 18 months, I want to go to as many events as I can with our t-shirts. So I want to go where book people are, because book people, that's who buys them. So
right.
I have to look at
the AALBC.com, that the African American,
I know Troy
that one,
really,
that
really
website,
well.
he lists the different festivals and book fairs.
Okay.
And you just have to scroll through them. I think they're like by state and even by country.
Right.
So that's really
Okay.
cool to see like what's upcoming. But also a lot of the authors, they always promote when they're going to be somewhere, but you don't be on Instagram. So I'm not sure.
I post this show on Instagram. That's really what I do on
That's her extent of being on
my
Instagram.
extent.
Right. And leave.
And then when I
Well,
go,
I can say that's my extent on Facebook.
Okay.
See, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So but what I need to do is get you more into my algorithm so I can see your stuff. So I'm gonna have to go on your page a lot more so I can get your page on my algorithm.
Yes, please come on over.
I only follow 5 people. So and I'm not exaggerating. It might be 6. So now I think we have 4,000 on Instagram for the festival. But I focus on the 97,000. That's what I have to. That's why I put my attention.
That's smart marketing.
So, but I need to do more on Instagram, because it's my daughter always tells me, Mom, you need to be on there more. So I'm gonna do it. And so
my daughter always tells me I need to be on TikTok, but I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I'm not going over there.
I'm trying to do everything. I can't.
No,
because you can't stretch yourself so thin.
Exactly.
You can't be effective in 15 different places.
Right, because I still have like a 9 to 5 as well. I work for I don't work at Barbershop Books anymore. So I work at Life Camp, which is a non-violence, anti-violence nonprofit organization. So it's run by Erica. Well, she stepped away, but Erica Ford's organization, and they it's a cure violence model. They interrupt violence. They show up to gun violence incidents. They're just community based, and it's really great. I love it.
Okay. Well, one of these days, Doris, I'm gonna have to be in the same city. Well, we'll be in Harlem.
Well, September.
Yeah, September. That's right.
We'll definitely see you in September.
Yeah, we'll
definitely.
I'm also thinking about going to Philadelphia in August.
You told me about that, but
I
don't think I'm gonna. What is it?
What's in Philly?
What is it called? Literacy Nation, I believe it is. He's doing a book festival, so I told him I would come up and support that one as well.
Is that
Mr. That sounds good?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is this his first year doing it?
I want to say yes. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, I believe this is his first year doing it.
Okay.
We went to one last year, was Treehouse that did it on close to Broad Street, and it was pretty good. It was really, really great. The community came out. They did haircuts. There were so many books. They kept replenishing. It was so nice. So yeah, that should be nice for you, Rhonda.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm trying to get out more. I'm always in the house, so I got to start getting out a little bit more.
Me too. They call me No Show Doris. Because I'm not coming.
Well, next year I'm gonna do some more traveling, but I don't, as far as like vending or taking things. The t-shirts are just lighter weight. books are heavy. And
Yes.
and then you got, a lot of people, they may not read, but they'll wear a t-shirt.
Right. And you can military roll them. So you can really
Yes.
fit a lot in your bag.
Yes. So yeah.
I'm a lot closer to New York than Gwen is, so I'm just gonna jump on the train and ride on up, be there in a couple hours.
Yeah, I can't do that. I'm looking for places closer to me, but it's not. I even contacted the New Orleans one, but they don't have vendors. Did you know that, Rhonda? The New Orleans Book Festival, that Tulane.
Oh, yeah. They don't have vendors, but there are other book festivals that do have vendors, though.
In New Orleans. Okay, well, I'll have to get with you after the show.
Yeah.
Anyway, Doris, thank you so much for being a guest. Thank you for the hookup with the books for the festival. We're so excited about that. And I've already told you this, but please give our sincere appreciation to the organizers of your organization. And who's the brainchild behind it?
It's Ellen O. She's a Asian author, and she's very in your face. She gets on the publisher. She's always been. So it was great that she and Danielle Clayton. She is also an author. She did the Bell series and the Marvelers, and it was those two together. And our executive director is Carolyn Richmond, who's an absolute sweetheart. I love her to death. So it's just a really great team that really is determined to, level the playing field for all diverse authors, no matter what your background, no matter, what your diversity. Okay, we have a guest appearance. No matter what your diversity may be, they're just really passionate about it and, completely understanding. When I did the workshop, it was really important that we had, Black people speaking to us, editors, agents, blah, blah, blah. But then when we got to the end, because of how stretched thin Black editors are, all of our books were reviewed by white, editors. And so that kind of put a little, damper, but it happened that I was able to come back around and, explain my experience, explain the things that work, what didn't work, and they were open to making some tweaks. So, we started asking a little bit earlier, and hopefully, we will have a little bit of a more diverse pool of editors at the end. But just a couple of tweaks, that a person who had been through the program, was able to share, and for them to be receptive, because you really don't get that, especially in publishing. Like if I did that at Harper, they would have just been like, yeah, whatever. So at least here, they actually take what you say into consideration, look and see that, okay, that makes sense, and then make the changes. So that's really encouraging.
Okay, well, we're at the end of our time. As a matter of fact, we're a couple of minutes over.
So
we want to say good night to all of our viewers. We'll be back next Tuesday with another amazing episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm
Good night.
Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.